Keep an open mind on this. Whenever government officials start trying to scare you, and then in conjunction with it say, now that we put you in fear of China and what they're doing on TikTok, give us the power to censor what your kids can and can't hear, or what adults can and can't hear. Be open-minded to what actually is happening. At least we'll let you be in our country, but only if you censor as we demand. And Facebook, Google, and Twitter want access to the Brazilian market. It's a huge market. And the reason they're so fixated on Elon Musk and the reason they hate Rumble and any other site that doesn't obey them is because they... I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that there are a lot of you who believe this, who believe that TikTok is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, that the censorship or content moderation decisions they make are designed to manipulate young American people, young Americans into hating their government, into fighting with one another, just like we were told the Russians do. We're constantly told the Russians are trying to infiltrate social media, to turn us against each other, to create division. That was for a long time the reason more social media censorship was needed to prevent the scary Russians from dividing us. Now they've added China to it. Now, what happened was I actually did a lot of investigation and research into this because I wrote about it here in December of 2022 when I was still at Substack. Reflecting new U.S. control of TikTok censorship, our report criticizing Zelensky was deleted. What happened was we produced a segment on our show here that was very critical of President Zelensky and of the Ukrainian government and the war effort of the United States in Ukraine. And it went pretty viral. A lot of people were spreading it around and watching it. And then suddenly, quickly, it got banned, taken down by TikTok. That sent us a note saying, this video is a violation of our terms of service. And of course, I thought to myself, okay, I kept hearing that China censors to propagandize Americans against their government. So why would they want to delete my video critical of the U.S. government? Why would they want to protect the U.S. government from my criticism of it? Why would they want to protect the U.S. government's war effort in Ukraine by banning critiques of it? And we went and investigated what actually was going on. And it turns out that what's really going on, and I'm going to show you the evidence and you can make your own decision, is that the CIA and the FBI have taken the position they want TikTok banned. The people who own TikTok, who are the founders of TikTok, the main founder in particular, is someone who was born in Singapore. He went to the London School of Economics. He then went to Harvard Business School. He's a capitalist. He's trying to get wealthy. He's getting rich. He's the founder of TikTok. And the US is an incredibly lucrative market for TikTok that they don't want to lose access to because it would cost them billions of dollars in valuation in their company. They're now trying to compete with Amazon and have e-commerce on that site. It's a gold mine. And so they're desperate not to get banned from the United States. And so they've told the CIA and the FBI, look, we don't care about political censorship. We'll turn that over to you. We'll let you tell us what you want censored in order for us to stay in the United States. And that is what's been happening. The U.S. security state has been gradually commandeering the ability to content moderate on TikTok as a condition for allowing TikTok to remain in the United States. So here is the article we wrote. For years, U.S. officials and their media allies accused Russia, China, and Iran of tyranny for demanding censorship as a condition for big tech access. That's what China and Iran and Russia do. They say, hey, Google and Facebook, you can only come in our country if you agree to censor as we command. That's what Brazil is doing as well to Facebook and Google and Twitter. We'll let you be in our country, but only if you censor as we demand. And Facebook, Google, and Twitter want access to the Brazilian market. It's a huge market. And so they censor as the Brazilian government tells them to. Elon Musk had a controversy because right before the Indian election, the Indian government told Twitter, we want all these accounts banned, and Elon Musk banned them. And when he was criticized over it, he said, well, look, I'm not going to lose access to India, a gigantic democracy. Of course I'm going to censor as the government tells me to. If the threat is if I don't, I'll be banned from their market. That's what the United States is doing to TikTok. It's telling them, we're going to ban you from our country unless you censor the way we want. We know that the United States government is very interested in controlling the flow of information on big tech. That's what the Twitter files were about. They were doing that with Facebook and Google and Twitter, and of course they're doing that with TikTok as well. TikTok has been hiring away from Facebook, from Instagram, all their security state executives who had overseen censorship for Facebook and for Google and putting them in charge of content moderation at TikTok to show the US government, we're going to censor the way you want, just like Facebook and Google do, as a condition to allowing us access to your market. Keep an open mind on this. Whenever government officials start trying to scare you, and then in conjunction with it say, now that we put you in fear of China and what they're doing on TikTok, give us the power to censor what your kids can and can't hear, or what adults can and can't hear, be open-minded to what actually is happening, at least. It was the White House that first demanded TikTok be banned. Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, who did so in March of this year. And when she did, a TikTok user named Luke David Johnson produced a video. He's a prominent TikTok user. He's not a child. He's not a young adult. He looks to be in his 30s or 40s. He produced a video explaining why it's so dangerous to allow the Biden White House to try and ban TikTok. And I'm going to show you this video because he lays out the argument very clearly and very persuasively, and I hope it'll just at least have people keep an open mind.
A question on TikTok. Over 100 million people now use this app. What is your message to them about why you're so concerned?
The way she casually thumbs through her notebook without even looking at the pages, knowing there's nothing in there that's going to help her with probably the most important question anyone has asked her in weeks, as she tries to act like it's just some run-of-the-mill question. Oh, by the way, TikTok. You're the press secretary. You're all things media. You're obsessed with the media. TikTok has 100 million users that use it for 90 minutes a day. You know this is huge. She tries to play it down like it's practically nothing.
Said he wasn't sure if the U.S. should ban TikTok when he was asked about this. Now the administration seems to be hardening its stance. You're backing this legislation, as you mentioned. We've learned, now warning that a possible ban could be at risk here. What?
The key part of that, like it usually is, what changed? I'll tell you what changed. TikTok didn't start collecting any kind of data that it wasn't already collecting before. It's also not collecting data that a million other companies don't harvest and sell in nice, tight, neat little packages to all kinds of people around the world, which are freely available. I don't think that China went out of its way to create an app in order to track and monitor stuff that's widely available on the market already. Would have been a lot more cost effective for them to just go buy it. But what they did do was give Americans the ability to communicate with each other. And what has been happening, as she mentioned, there's 100 million users now, 90 minutes a day, using this platform to communicate with each other. That is a huge threat. And not to the Americans, not to the individuals who are communicating their ideas to one another, but to the administration in power. See, it's fine when it's the mainstream media that they have control over. It's fine when it's Twitter and Facebook and other companies that they have control over. But it's not fine when it's a company they don't have control over. Twitter was okay before. Now Twitter's a problem because it's no longer controlled by the U.S. government. TikTok is a really big deal.
So, do you see what he's saying? He's saying the United States government has worked very hard to make sure it controls all important means of communication. It obviously has the U.S. media in the palm of its hands. The U.S. media reports what the CIA and the FBI tell it to and doesn't report what they tell it not to say. The big tech platforms, Facebook and Google and Twitter before Elon Musk, as we know, were subject to constant orders from the government about what to censor, and they did it. And the reason they're so fixated on Elon Musk and the reason they hate Rumble and any other site that doesn't obey them is because they can't stand the notion that Americans can go on a platform and communicate ideas that they can't stop.